Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal. Words from a supposedly fictional dancing frog. But what if I told you maybe this dancing frog was based on a true story? I'm Spooky Maddie, and this is Anomalous. Okay, so hello, I'm Spooky Maddie.
I didn't pick a name for this,
Your
so
name
I'm
is
just
Cullen.
I'm Colin. I'm
Yeah.
the guy who's here to more or less ruin the podcast,
Okay,
or
well.
be the only redeeming part, depending on which side of the fence you exist on.
Anyways, this is Anomalous, where we talk about all things creepy, kooky, spooky, anomalous, and creepy, and mysterious, and try to get to the bottom of this. And today, we are talking about the Loveland Frogman, or the Frog of Ohio, Frogman of Ohio. This has a lot of different names, and kind of self-explanatory. It is a giant frog who walks like a man in Loveland, Ohio. So
I'm already completely on board, and I'm glad that it aligns with my longtime dream of becoming the Frogland Love Man,
okay,
which is
very
sort of
fun.
just to go in and bunch all
Yeah.
those legs folded backwards, sick with lake water.
I can't
and
wait for a collab.
Open my mouth and see what happens. And that's
Yeah.
my whole plan.
Okay, so you may have heard that the water is turning the frogs gay,
I have heard that, yes.
but are the frogs turning the water gay? Okay, so background of the origin of this myth, or
Wow. Opening it
okay,
strong.
okay, let's
I
cut
thought
that
I
out.
was-
Let's cut that out.
No,
please.
Let's stay it in.
I don't know how to say it.
I'm calling chalkboard already.
Okay, background of the original sighting, where it all began. The first sighting of the Frogman was in May of 1955 by an anonymous businessman. Some people say he was a salesman, wanted to remain anonymous.
He wanted to remain He wanted to remain anonymous, but he became anomalous.
Holy
Honestly, though, who
shit.
is this con man and what is his
He's
name?
not he's a businessman.
Is he
You
trying
may
to
have
sell?
misheard.
This man was definitely selling frog repellent, and this was his way to scare customers into buying more of his product.
He sold me because... Okay, I wanted to get up on this at the end, but I'm going to say it now. Out of all of the animals in the whole world that there could be, like, anthropomorphic, humanoid...
Frogs would be the best to oil down.
No, frogs would be the least scary. Like, I thought about it
don't like
long and hard. There are not many animals that I wouldn't be scared of if they were, like, giant, but frog is seriously up there.
That's fair. I feel like frogs in general aren't intimidating unless they're covered in that poison, or they do the throat thing, and then I think they're much bigger, and I get afraid. I don't want to attack them in the wild.
Either you're thinking of toads, the much scarier cousin of frogs. No offense to poison dart frogs listening, but I don't think frogs are scary. Honestly, seriously, think about it. What?
I'm sorry, I just got lost in the cute tiny little headphones of a dart frog. Just tiny little over ears what do they have, like pinholes for ears?
The least intimidating. I thought about a rabbit, and I was like, but what if it has sharp teeth? That's scary. So...
This is just exposing your deep lack of knowledge about all things Monty Python. And that's fine. And technically that does make you a cooler person than me. But bunnies can be very scary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's fair.
Yeah, scarier than a frog.
A big frog is intimidating in the same way that, like, a big pug would be.
Yeah.
You know?
That's fair.
Or it's slightly cute, its face and everything kind of precludes it from being much of a predator regardless of its size. I did very little research about all of this. I more or less just typed it into YouTube and searched by latest, and I'll get into how disappointing that was later. But I'm hearing that it's not really massive. Like, we're not working with the King Kong of frogs.
But I will say this first story does get a little scary, so hold on to your hats and I'll get into it.
Let's get into this con man's
No, he's a businessman.
nighttime.
You misheard me. Okay. Perhaps a salesman. Okay, so his original sighting, May 1955. It seems like a lot of the sightings are in spring. Didn't do that much research into frog life. But
I'm gonna assume spring is when they flower.
yes, I believe so. Okay, so this businessman was driving. It was 3 a.m. early morning, witching hour, and he spotted 3 figures along the road. And this is on a road that is along the Little Miami River in Claremont County. So he spotted these 3 figures and he pulled over, obviously intrigued. There were 3 of them, and they were standing. So he pulls over, he looks at them, and he described them as bipedal, obviously, 3 to 4 feet tall, and reptilian. Okay? He's like, these are reptilian.
He saw Obama, Hillary Clinton, and
oh no.
Jeff Bezos walking along the streets of Little Miami. First of all, Little Miami is not an appealing name for anything.
No.
I mean, you have to assume when you lose the scale of Miami, all that's left is the sadness.
Yes.
Are you sure that...
There's also the frogs.
Have you considered in your theories about what this could be that 3 small bipedal figures on the banks of the Little Miami River are most likely little people flushed out of a sewage drain?
This is not the type of pod. What are we?
It's unfortunate, but I'm saying that Miami can only assumably be fun if you're flying in a plane filled with cocaine and you have a little Uzi. If you are a little person without a little Uzi, you're just living on the shores of
Let me tell you why this is not a little person in Little Miami. He said they were reptilian. It was clear to him because they had leathery skin and webbed hands and feet. And he also said that they had a distinct frog face.
This is still mostly on track for what I assume the people of Little Miami would
That
represent.
is offensive.
I'm not saying all little people have webbed feet and a frog face. I'm not saying that.
We can't air this.
I'm saying that a little person of Little Miami may represent that caricature of a frog.
Well, they said they have a frog face, and instead of hair on top of their head, it was just wrinkles.
So do they have like a human head, but like frog features, like big old eyes?
No, it was a
and, like,
frog head. Yeah, with the big old eyes
With the
and
big
like
old
long.
And like
mouth.
the Simpsons thing where they do where the mouth kind of goes too much on the top and too little on the bottom.
Exactly.
You know what? Why didn't you scoop these little fellas up and take them home?
Honestly. Well, let me tell you why. And brace yourself. So he also, I've heard various sources say he could smell the scent of almonds and alfalfa. So he got out of his car, he looked at them as you would, and he was about to leave when one of the frogmen held a stick or wand over his head and sparks, like electric sparks, flew out. And then he left much quickly, or after that.
He left much quicker after that.
He zooted out. Yeah.
You underlined much quicker. You really wanted to fit that in. That brings me to my main question from my quote-unquote research, which quickly divulged into just looking at strange people who scream about lifting weights on YouTube, but that's not important. The wizard element of this entire frog story is confusing. It seems out of place, and I'd really like you to run it down. Why is this Frogman? First of all, why is it not Frogmen if there's 3?
Sure, it's Frogman.
Why is it's burying the lead not to go Wizard Frog?
I think you can imagine perfectly a large bipedal frog, 3 to 4 feet, with a wizard hat on its head.
Yeah,
Like,
if
I
I'm
think
watching
that
Over the
image-
Garden Wall, I can imagine
yes.
that. If I imagine Over the Garden Wall, or I'm a downtrodden salesman on the banks of Little Miami, inhaling the sewage fumes and having a stroke.
Do you guys smell that alfalfa too? Oh, you're frogs?
Wow. Did you cast a hex on me? Because the left side of my face just is not cooperating with me right now. It's unfortunate for him.
Yeah. So I wasn't able to find a lot of sightings of the frogmen, so there were 4 like major sightings.
That actually brings me again to, I'm feeling as though I've done a significant amount of research, but we're at the bottom of the barrel now. I typed in Frogman, and one of them, to my immense excitement, was Frogman real evidence, like shot on video, and it was like 14 seconds long.
Yeah.
And below was, we've run out of results for the search that you just typed in, HD quality of Bigfoot. So I knew I was really going to get something good. And it really did seem like it was just 2 small orbs of light in darkness. It could have been a cat. It could have been just reflections of streetlights off of the water. And why does every person who shoots a video have the shaky hands of an infirm person?
So let's get to our second sighting, our second and third sighting.
Okay. And are they all by nameless businessman?
No, no.
Was anyone able to follow up with
Yes,
this businessman?
so
They
why
were?
don't you... Oh, not with
No,
the
the original
businessman.
businessman.
No, but
He didn't leave a card.
the
at
next
scene?
sightings were in 1972 by 2 police officers, and these are the next big sightings, most talked about. So the first sighting was by Officer Shockley, who would like to remain anonymous.
Uh-oh.
On March 3rd, 1972. So he was on Riverside Road on the way to Loveland when he saw what he thought was a dog on the side of the road. So he pulls over, checks out what's going on, and the creature stood upright, looked at him, like made eye contact, and then went over the guardrail, over the bank into the Little Miami River. And there are some reports that right before he stood up, he like jumped and crouched in a frog-like position and then jumped over the guardrail. You know, this officer is a trained observer, and he described this frogman as 3 to 4 feet, 50 to 75 pounds, and had a frog face with leathery skin.
Okay. I'm dubious of the credibility of a quote-unquote trained observer that's in the Loveland police force.
Well,
or any police force for that matter, but I don't know. Maybe they're doing good work down there. My point being, is the silhouette of a dog easily mistakable for the silhouette of a frog?
If it's a frog man,
A frog man resembles a dog?
he just saw like a injured animal, assumed it was, or what he thought was an injured animal on the side of the road, assumed it was a dog.
That the wide, flat, jumping back feet of a frog that make them so irresistible to all French people is unmistakable for the skinnier leg of a dog.
It was dark. It was very late at night. And if he was all curled up, you know.
Isn't this a rural town? Like, I guess they don't have coyotes in Loveland. Is that not a thing over there?
I don't know. I think they have coyotes.
Well, I mean, if they had that, then why is this officer stopping in the middle of the night to see, like,
There's an animal on the road, you know?
Yeah, he's just walking along. He's got a bindle over one shoulder, a frog face, and he's just like, well, that's a normal
Well, he
dog.
wasn't walking when he first approached him.
Just walking, standing over this dog, like, technically, this is part of my mandate as a police officer.
Obviously, this
Smoking a
shook
pack of
him
cigarettes.
to his core. So him and an Officer Matthews went back to look for evidence shortly after, and all they found were scrape marks, like going down towards the river.
Oh.
So
he biffed the jump over the guardrail.
well, no, he just needed like a little help going down, I guess. You know,
He Jack
we gotta be
Sparrowed it.
safe. Yeah, better safe than sorry.
I see.
So this leads into the second sighting. Officer Matthews, who went along to find the evidence, he's in this. He's wants to find this Frogman. So he had his own experience on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 1972. The original story goes that he was driving around the same area, that same Riverside Road towards Loveland, when he also spotted an animal in the road. He got out. The animal jumped into a crouched position, as it is occasionally reported in the first sighting. And he did what any trained officer of the law would do. He shot him. He shot the Frogman.
Yes. Very good.
So the original story goes, after he shot the Frogman, it didn't affect him. He was just looking him in his eyes when he jumped over the guardrail once again and went down into the river.
Okay, so best case scenario in this situation, from my perspective, is a blind drunk, frog-fearing officer of the law in Loveland got more wasted than his usual nightly endeavor on St. Patrick's Day, and then shot a street dog.
Well, so he gave the same description as Officer Shockley, but he said there may have been a tail. So that was the original story he stuck with until the final sighting in 2016. Officer Matthews actually went back on his story, and he said it was a large tailless iguana that he shot, did kill, and put in his trunk, and then I guess he showed the boys the iguana to...
I need a biography of Officer Matthews' life, because what series of events in a childhood leads up to, I'm gonna become a police officer, drink to the point of hallucination, shoot a massive iguana on the streets of Little Miami, and then keep it in my trunk as a sideshow to show kids that I yell at for drinking in the park.
I wouldn't put a large dead iguana I had shot in my trunk. That's just me.
You would nurse it back to health.
Yes. I don't know. He said it was nearly dead anyway. So when asked why the brutal...
Now that's what you can say what you like about Officer Matthews, but when he shoots a tepid iguana in the streets of Loveland,
he doesn't miss.
He does not miss. He's a quick draw.
I don't know why he would recant his story. This quote, I think, was really interesting. Take from it what you will. Officer Matthews said, "It's like Bigfoot and other stuff. I don't believe in Bigfoot." So maybe he doesn't believe in the Frogman that he reportedly sighted himself.
You included this little revision of his in order to just throw shade on the skeptic's viewpoint of this.
Yes. No, but it is. Why did he recant? Why did he wait until 2016 when there was another sighting? Which gets me into my third sighting. The Frogman was spotted in Cincinnati, between Loveland, Madeira,
oh my God,
Road, and Lake Isabella.
Our half Hispanic correspondent is doing great with Madeira.
Madeira, and Lake Isabella. So it was in a body of water. A couple was playing Pokemon Go.
So this is very recent.
Yeah, 2016, when they spotted a huge frog, which I think... Well, it is where all the pictures and video came from. They spotted a huge frog. He promises it was not in the game.
That's good.
So it's a huge frog. You're like, oh my God, a huge frog. You're looking at it. And it stood up and walked. And he said the descriptions, obviously, it appeared as a frog. And he said it was around 3 to 4 feet or 1 meter tall. Took pictures and videos. Unfortunately, it was night. It's quite blurry.
Yeah.
He says himself, he's like, I don't know if this was just a large frog or what, but it was walking.
4 feet tall and on its hind legs?
Yeah. It's not huge.
That's pretty big. If a frog is able to tackle an 11-year-old and possibly win the 3 count, it's a big frog.
It is a big frog. Yeah.
Also, despite the sketch at the end of Spaceballs, I'm pretty sure that they don't make a habit of walking around on their hind feet.
Right, that's why it's like, oh my god, it's a frogman.
Okay, we're going different directions with the conclusions.
Okay.
I'm saying that either, first, it's a cosplayer out also playing Pokemon Go in a Krogunk.
In the
God,
water?
I hope that's right. Yeah, in the water.
Gross.
You've been to San Diego Comic-Con. You know the devotion that these people will go through.
Yeah, but not at Loveland Comic-Con.
You play as Deadpool. You have to smell like a rotting cancer patient. That's just how they operate there.
But 3 to 4 feet tall? And they
don't
went
have
for
any
like a
explanation.
photorealistic frog rather
Okay,
than...
well then it brings me to my second explanation, which I am very, very confident in at this point. Nintendo...
Okay.
Nintendo saw that people were getting a little bit too complacent. They're like, we appreciate that you're liking our app, but can you really just go out into the wild and get around these dangerous, wild, mutated animals and try to capture them in balls? The second that's outside of the app and you're facing a 3 to 4 foot frogman, it's very frightening to throw a baseball at them and hope it absorbs their entire being.
Yeah. That's why you gotta have your own, like, mutant animal with you that will fight him and get him weak first before you throw a baseball.
That's why, so as not to normalize these things, I take all of my mobile games very seriously. High cardio with Temple Run. I think I'm rich every time I play Jules.
Nice. Very fun. Okay, let's get into the theories. The first is that the Frogman is a supernatural entity. The first sighting where there's like possible magic is magic.
Well, we did see a wand in the first one, but
Yes.
he didn't cast any hexes. Unless, of course, that stroke wasn't brought on by family history.
He
and that sort of
did
thing.
shoot electric sparks.
He did.
The frog, yeah.
The first frog?
Yeah, he shot sparks out of the wand.
I absorbed nothing from this.
Well, you're not listening. Why
Where
aren't
is
you
Little
listening? Well, Ohio has reported sightings of other cryptids, including Bigfoot. The bridge that Mothman destroyed connects Ohio.
The bridge
and-
itself is a cryptid at this point. It's
No, there's
appearing
been
over
sightings
creeks.
of Mothman,
Along-
as well as melon heads, which maybe we'll cover in another episode.
That sounds like a good one, because it sounds silly, and I have no idea what it is.
Could explain the wand use if it was a supernatural being. Maybe had some magic.
Okay, I absolutely love that idea. Very much. Anything that is unexplained naturally may or may not have magical powers. So
Well,
you're
he
saying...
shot sparks out of a stick.
Did shoot sparks out of a stick, and that is extremely fun. Still could have been a child with a one of those.
Oh yeah, sparklers.
Yeah, sparkler. It could have been a child with one of those.
Could have been a frogman with one of those.
But I do love the extension of the logic where it's like, if Mothman does exist, contrary to all ideas about how flights of insects work, why couldn't he have magic? Why couldn't he be throwing
He
a couple
could.
hexes around?
he
Exactly.
could-
No,
he
I do
brings-
love that.
Yeah, he brings. We'll obviously have a Mothman episode. He is like an omen. So anyway, so all that is to say, Ohio could be a hot spot.
It is not the landing opinion of this podcast that Ohio is
a hot spot.
It's not a hot spot in any respect.
In like folklore, mythology, beliefs, religion, there are many frog slash human creatures, like frog humanoids. Especially in Japanese mythology, there's like kappas, which are amphibious yokai demon or imp humanoid frogs.
So it's not just an emoji that tells people you're being sarcastic on Twitch.
I don't know, Twitch.
And now we're in different realms again. We missed each other.
Yeah, but perhaps a kappa or a frogman could have come here.
Interesting. I do like Kappa. I've seen
Yes.
art. Very fun. Mm-hmm. I would like to have a big frog watching over me, making sure that like I'm doing all right.
Yeah. There have unfortunately been no Native American beliefs or sightings
Step
of
it
a
up.
frogman. No, as far as we know. So that kind of goes against. I mean, maybe it's new. Maybe it's just born. You know.
I feel like they probably, even before we showed up, avoided Ohio.
Yeah, it's a hot spot. So another theory is that, like Officer Matthews said, it is a large iguana with a dropped tail. Iguanas do, and most lizards drop their tail when they're stressed out.
Okay,
if
but
you're
what
like
is
living in
attacking?
Ohio, you're stressed out, you
That's
drop
fair.
your tail.
So you're saying that there isn't really a predator chasing this iguana that would catch its tail. It's more of like the depressing nature of
vibes
the life
of
that they
Ohio.
live. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Kafka metamorphosis-esque rundown nature of this iguana has forced it to drop its tail.
Exactly. In Florida, like huge iguanas that just run around cause a lot of chaos. So the officer thought it could have been an escaped pet.
Interesting.
So iguanas can be up to like over 5.5 feet in length.
Oh, shit.
But most of that is its tail. So in their body, they're only like 1.5 feet. So if it was tailless,
Yeah, then it would
that
have been
would
notably
be
smaller.
huge. If it was a tailless iguana that was 3 to 4 feet, he would be like an 8-foot iguana in real, like if it had its tail.
Though, I will say, of all of the people I've accused of being high or drunk or possibly having serious medical issues in this entire story, I feel like Matthews, late at night, planning to show kids the corpse of, like, an iguana,
dead
is the closest to being confirmed drunk at the time. So 1 to 2 foot iguana balloons up to 3 or 4 feet easy. I mean, I've seen cockroaches in this house that's 4 or 5 feet
Yeah.
long. It's
There was a
not like
scorpion. That scorpion was like 10 feet.
a scorpion
tall.
was like 10 feet.
Thank
Okay, complete aside, but it is one of the more intimidating things to, like, enter a new house to be renting like we are, and of the things that the last tenants deign to leave behind, it's just
Yeah.
a big old bottle of scorpion
I hate
killer.
that, and I've been on edge constantly.
I appreciate that they left it for us, but it did seem like a warning sign.
Oh, and it was. So another theory is that it could be a large frog. The largest species of frog is a Goliath frog. It's only like a little over a foot long,
Okay.
but that's without its legs. No, like, you know what I'm saying?
How do biologists measure animals? They're just like fucking arbitrarily like, how big is this frog? It's like, I don't know, I took a tape measure. I figured it was like 2 or 3 feet long. It's like, you fool. Then he just pulls out a cleaver. It's like, boom, tail off right there. Boom, boom, the leg's off.
So
now
that's-
measure it. Why?
That's without it splayed out. So if it were standing up, I suppose it could possibly reach.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that it can't.
Their
Again,
legs
they-
are so long.
They don't stand, like, if they extend their legs, they're jumping, right? They're not, like,
Yeah.
walking around trying
Well,
to
that's
show
why
off
it's
their developed
mysterious.
Okay, what are you claiming is mysterious at this point?
That it's
The fact-
walking, that the frogs are bipedal.
So
Of
it's-
course.
So it's fully assumed that it is a Goliath frog. The mysterious part is, why is it walking on 2 feet? I feel like that's an entirely separate mystery.
Okay, if I told you, oh, there's a frog walking, you'd be like, that's a little mysterious. Like,
I
you
thought
know
that they
that.
hopped, yes.
Yeah. But it's just walking around.
Yeah. I'd like to meet him.
Okay, if you think about it, I mean, yeah, no, I don't know enough to say anything.
If you think about it, who knows?
Who knows? No one.
All of this seems like, if we're gonna have fun with it, he has to have a little cape and a wizard hat.
I think the wizard hat would look so good
looks
on
so
his
good.
frog, on his standing frog head.
That's what I've always said about frogs, is with their eyes shifted all the way up and, like, their face sort of, again, it's the Simpsons thing with the big upper lip. They need a hat to balance it out.
Oh, yeah. It's like God's perfect hat holder.
Did you hear about that guy in Las Vegas that was gluing cowboy hats to pigeons?
Yes. Amazing.
Could they fly? If they could, I'm going to say it's fine. But if they can't, I
That's
understand
sad,
why
but yeah.
it's not good.
But if they are fine, then that's improving
It's fine.
everyone's
then it's
life.
great.
Yeah. So, along with the theory that this could just be like a biological, legit frog, perhaps the sparks that, well, it uses sticks as a tool as animals have, like
Thank you.
monkeys.
And what is her name?
What?
Who's that lady who fucked a bunch of monkeys to get famous in science?
Yeah, Jane Goodall, and she's a personal hero of mine.
Jane Bad Girl All.
Oh God, cut that out. Okay, so perhaps if you think about an electric eel, maybe it was electricity, electric sparks going up the end of a
Or
stick.
automaton. Could it be, like you said, if we're throwing biology explained theories out of the window, could it be a robot? Could it be Generation 1 that has evolved to the point where we have the security camera pigeons?
I didn't even think of that.
Well,
That is definitely a theory.
Nintendo could also be involved.
Likely. So people are like, why is this only in Ohio? Why is this mostly in Little Miami River? Well, another amphibian, the axolotl, is only in Mexico City, and it exclusively lives in a lake known as Xochimilco, which I pronounced correct.
Very good.
So honestly, it's possible that these giant frogs that learned how to walk just live in this little lake.
Interesting. And that concludes our first episodely session of How Will Madison Figure Out How to Talk About Axolotls in this story?
They're amazing.
They're his favorite
creatures.
Yeah.
So my last theory is that it could be a hoax.
Wow, you're really stepping into you're taking a leaf out of
I
my
don't
book.
really have.
It could
I don't
be a
know.
hoax. I asked you this before we started rolling the podcast. Do they have merch? If they have merch, I'm wondering about the legitimacy.
I think there is merch. Leads me to one of my miscellaneous fun facts is that there was a musical made in 2014 based off of the Officer's sightings called Hot Damn, It's the Loveland Frog
Okay, they're having fun with it.
by Mike Hall and Joshua Steele, and from what I've seen, it received pretty favorable reviews.
That's nice. And I heard it got a recent adaptation on Netflix. I'm thinking about ending it.
Ending things, and that was a fine movie.
But it was originally a stage play called...
Hot Damn, It's the Loveland Frog.
Exactly.
That's not true. I recommend the book, which I haven't read, and the movie. So, it is really ingrained, from what I read, into the minds of, like, the Ohioans, the Loveland people. It's pretty accepted, I don't know.
Well,
The story gets told still.
We were talking to a correspondent, and she was mentioning... Well, first of all, it was a beautiful tale of her first time taking a titty picture.
Yes.
But she's convinced that the Frogman was watching from the bushes, approving or disapproving of her angles and the lighting.
Yeah, shout out to our correspondent who lived near Loveland, said she went to the lake. She unfortunately never saw the Frogman, but felt his presence when she was taking a titty pic, which I think he was there in spirit.
Yeah, it's like putting up a photo of your, like, great-great-grandpa. Like, he's not around, but he's still watching the terrible things you do in your living room.
I don't...
So that's the episode on the Loveland Frogman.
Audrey, you're not terrible. You're fantastic.
I wasn't saying specifically her.
Okay. So that is the Loveland Frogman. I absolutely think it could be a giant frog that is walking around Ohio.
I absolutely think that it could be one of the biggest movies on Netflix this season.
Oh my gosh.
No, I do like the entire thing. Now I want to type in Loveland Frogman and see a bunch of wizard frogs, because I feel like that's the direction we need to take the story in.
It feels so right and so natural to imagine a frog in a wizard hat and cape.
Yeah.
With a wand.
And if you are unlike me and have a significant amount of talent, please make that.
Please.
Please make that.
I would love to see so much a frog in a wizard hat. It just seems like it's so perfect on top of his bipedal head.
You've seen Lego Harry Potter. Here's Loveland Harry Potter.
Very fun. And
Yeah.
it's the frogs. It's the frogmen.
Signing off from our first episode of Anomalous.
Yeah.
Loveland Frogman sending little spells right into your dreams with his cute little hat, cute little cape. And you know what? Even if you're a cynic like me, Just imagine it's an iguana. It's just as fun.
Yep, signing off. This was Anomalous. Remember, kids, the truth is out there. The truth is here. What? Want to believe in the Frogman and believe in yourself.
That's nice. Believe in the Frogman, believe in yourself.
Yes.
Believe in yourself more than you believe in the Frogman.
Yeah, probably.
I think we're done.
Okay.
I think we had 2 or 3 good sign-offs in there.